So welcome to episode number 7 of the Free Your Mind podcast. Now today, this is the first one I've done in about 2 or 3 weeks actually. In the last 4 or 5 weeks, I've done like 5 webinars and a 5-day challenge. I've gone absolutely all in on serving, as well as obviously client calls, etc. So it's been pretty crazy. And in amongst all of that, I didn't find time to do the podcast. The thing is with like creative energy, as you probably know, is there's only so much that you can, so much creative output. And if I'm not feeling it, there's no point. Like when it comes to creative work, if you're a creative, you'll know this. If you're not really in flow with it, then the work you produce tends to be shit. And you may as well have not bothered. It's not really the kind of work that you can just get done. You know, it's not like a workout that you just shut the fuck up and get on with it. It's like if you're not fully alive to it and showing up and fully engaged, then you may as well just, you know, sling your hammock up and sit in a tree for a minute. But today it occurred to me that I want to do a podcast episode. And the main topic for today is one of the biggest thoughts that trip people up over and over and over and over again. So you'll hear me talk about this probably a million times. And again, you'll hear me saying the same things, but in different ways. But every time I say it, you'll hear something different. And you may have seen on my Facebook or Insta or somewhere that someone said, a client who's in the mastermind actually, she was new to it. And she said that one sentence basically solved 8 years of suffering and 8 years of CBT and therapy and counseling and stuff. And it's funny because when the world looks the way it does to me, I find stuff like this funny where people straight away commented and said, well, what was the sentence? And the reason that's funny to me is because that sounds like that's a good question. But if it was really the sentence that made a difference, well, I would take that sentence and I'd go tell it to everyone, and everyone's life would change. But it's not really about the sentence. It was knowing the sentence to say. It was the right sentence at the right time. It was the journey that had led to that point where that sentence was so impactful. More than anything, it was insight. It was that sentence allowed her to see something that she hadn't seen before. It allowed her to, in an instant, see something she hadn't seen before that made the old way of living no longer the obvious thing to do. That's what my job is here on this planet. That's what my job is here, you know, to all of my clients. That's what I get paid to do. That's what this podcast is for. It's not to give you information. It's not to give you steps as such. It's not to give you all the intellectual knowledge so that you can go and repeat it to other people, because knowledge doesn't always equal understanding. Understanding is very different. Insight is different. When you get that insight, it can come in a sentence. It can come in a moment. You can be a penny drop moment away from a whole different reality, a whole new choice, a whole new world. It doesn't take months to overcome a problem. It doesn't take months to build a habit or drop an old habit. Sometimes it takes a second. And really that's what you're listening for, or that's what I'd invite you to listen to or for in these conversations. You're listening for a new thought, a new perspective. Your old thinking has got you here. You're not going to find anything new in your old pile of thinking. You're not going to find new answers to old problems rummaging through your box of old thinking. It just doesn't work that way. These conversations about freshly squeezed milk, fresh from the cow. I mean, I don't know, I can't think of anything better, but some level of freshness, new insight, seeing the world in a different way, looking at the world from a new perspective. Because you're only ever one thought away from an entirely different reality. So let me get on with the point. The point today is our good old foe, our good old friend, I'll be happy when. Now, this isn't that powerful for some people, but for my people, for me, for the people that get me, the people who are in my world, this is the little fucker that trips us up over and over and over and over again. and it reinvents itself and it hides again in new places. With every time you level up as a human, it changes. So let me give you an example. I spent most of my life chasing success because I believed that all of my stress would go away, all of my problems would go away when I had enough money. When I had enough money, I would feel secure. I would feel confident. I'd feel like my place on this planet was being well used. It was a reflection, or I believed, a reflection of how good I was in this world. And people would tell you that, and it seems to make sense. So I believed that I would be happy when. But every time I achieved some level of what I thought would make me happy, I couldn't help but feel a little bit like, Or sometimes I'd be buzzing for 5 minutes. And then I'd quickly be like, all right. But the only answer I had at this stage was, well, it must be something else then. I'm currently living my old perfect life. The part of me that got into coaching was to create the lifestyle I currently have. It doesn't feel how I thought it would. It's not to say it doesn't feel awesome. And it's not to say that it feels shit. But some days it feels good and some days it doesn't. Some days I love it, some days I don't. Some days life is amazing and I'm like, oh my God, this is my job. And other days I'm like, oh, I fucking wish I could just have the day off. And some days I take the day off. And then some days I take the day off and go, oh, this doesn't even feel that good. Or some days I take the day off and I go, oh, this is exactly what I needed. That's the nature of human psychology. It's volatile. It's changing from moment to moment. That's just the way the human psychology works. The thoughts come and go. Emotions follow those thoughts. Some days you love your life, some days you don't. Some days you feel energetic, some days you feel tired. Some days you feel like your life's epic and some days you don't. Some days you get in your car and you go, oh my God, this is my dream car. And other days you get in the car and you forget that you was even driving. You arrive and you go, how did I even get here? You could have gone on a bus for all you know because you didn't pay any attention. You wasn't present to it. And other days you're like, fuck this car, it's shit. Someone's dented it and I wish I had my old car because I didn't care about it, which is a true story. And that's what used to make me think I was bipolar. I know I've spoken about this before, but how many times have you achieved something only to find out that you don't really feel any different, or you don't really feel happier? Or you still don't really feel as confident as you thought you would, or as happy as you thought you would, or there's more challenges that you didn't predict, or it feels different. But then what we do is we go, oh, well, the answer must be something else then. If it wasn't this car, it must be that car. If it wasn't this house, maybe I need a bigger garden. Or maybe it wasn't a house after all. Maybe I need an apartment that looks over or maybe I need that in addition to, or maybe I need a second house. And we keep looking to the outside world in order to feel an inside emotion. We're looking out there for something that can only be found in here. We're looking for our sense of love or belonging or success or confidence or happiness or joy or excitement. We're looking outside of ourselves. But we're looking in a place that it doesn't exist. There's a story I tell, and again, I may be repeating myself because I tend to do that, but let's imagine you and we go to the pub. I don't like the pub, really. I find it boring, to be honest. I don't enjoy normal crap conversation about the weather, but let's assume there were some interesting people there that could have some fun conversations, then I'd enjoy it. And let's imagine we walk out and there's someone there on their hands and knees rummaging around on the floor, just under like a street lamp, just looking over the road, partially over the road, partially over the path. And us being nice people as we are, we're like, you okay, mate? What are you looking for? And he looks up and goes, oh, I'm looking for my keys. So before long, we're looking around, we're looking down by the curb. We're looking along the path, we're looking around the lamppost. And it occurs to one of us to say, I know this sounds like a silly question, but when was the last time you remember having them? And he looks up and he says, "Oh, I had them at home." To which we would reply, "Well, why the fuck are you looking here?" And he says, "The light's better here." And the point of this story is this is what most humans are doing. They're looking to the outside world because it's more illuminated. It looks more obvious. The light is better out there. The light and the media and the dialogue that we've consumed, the narrative that we've consumed growing up is that freedom is on the other side of a holiday. Adventure is out there. Love looks a certain way. Money and success makes you feel a certain way. We're sold these emotions. We're sold the dream. We're sold the Lambos and the big houses. And for anyone that's listening that's fortunate enough to have got there, you know that it's a lie. And for any one of you listening that's at least moved some way along to what you thought was going to make you happy, you've probably experienced and achieved enough to start to see that this doesn't quite look like I thought it would. And that's because the light is better out there, but if you're looking in the wrong place, you'll never find what you're looking for. I've had so many clients tell me that when they just have $1 million in the bank, then they'll feel secure. And then they get to $1 million and they realize they feel no different. And then they're like, well, now fucking what? I've had someone with $2 million in his bank. He's worked his whole life to get here, only to find he was more stressed than ever because he's now worrying about keeping it and losing it. And what if the banks go under because they're highly leveraged, and talking to me about buying gold and burying it in the garden as a way of trying to hold on to it. It's the more stressed he's ever been. And that's because we create the story that somehow a number on a bank balance is going to make me feel something. But that's just not the way human psychology works. It's not the way it works. Because all we ever feel is our thinking. You're not feeling your money. You're not feeling your success. You're not feeling your houses, cars, material possessions, and you're feeling your thoughts. So if you are thinking thoughts of confidence, you feel confidence. If you're thinking thoughts of security and abundance, you feel security and abundance. If you're thinking thoughts of gratitude and how awesome your life is and looking around at your life and saying, what do I appreciate? Then you feel feelings of appreciation, which in turn affects our actions, and our actions create our results. And that's essentially the self-fulfilling prophecy. But if you're feeling or thinking anxious thoughts, you're worrying, what if that, and what if this, and making negative predictions about the future, and then living in the present as if it's already true, then you're going to be feeling those emotions. That's all anxiety is. If you're worrying, it's because you're thinking worrying thoughts. If you're feeling depressed, it's because you're thinking thoughts about your old life and comparing your life now to what you believe you once had. If you're feeling excitement for the future, then you're just thinking thoughts about the future and you're creating a positive prediction. We only ever feel our thinking. We only ever feel what's going on in our own internal world. That's why we can all go to the cinema, watch the same film, but have a different experience of it. Because we're not really feeling the film. It's not the film that's making us feel anything. The film doesn't change. It's the same film that 100 people have watched it. We've all had a different experience because we've all run it for our own thinking and therefore feeling. That's the way the world works. Now, this I'll be happy when thought, it reinvents itself. Because for me, once I thought I'd mastered this, I'm like, oh yeah, I know it's not money anymore. Although money's nice to have and I very much enjoy it. And it's not material things, although there are still many, many material things that I love to have. And I can still look at my material world and say, I don't want for anything. And I appreciate that. So it's not it's not like I've turned into a hippie. I love it all. I just don't attach my self-worth or happiness or belonging or any emotional value to it. So I'm like, yeah, look at me. I'm the big swinging dick. I got this figured out. But then I realized that the I'll be happy when just changed without me knowing. It then become, well, I'll be happy when I figured all of this out. When life makes sense to me, then I'll be happy. When I've written my book and it's sold to this many people, well, then I'll feel like I've made an impact. When my email list is this many, or my podcast listeners is this much, or I've got this many clients, or I speak on this stage, then I'll feel like I'm really making a difference. It just changed in front of my eyes. Yeah, it had gone from physical to non-physical, but it was still I'll be something when something. I'll be X when Y. And it can reinvent itself in so many ways. I'll feel like my relationship is good when she really listens to me. I'll feel like my relationship is good when she gives me enough sex. I'll feel like I've done a good job with my son when he plays football and gets into this team, or when he does this test and passes it, or when she does gymnastics and is recognized for X, Y, and Z. It just reinvents itself over and over and over again if this is a thought pattern that you stumble on. You might not, in which case I don't know why you're listening this far, because there's not probably anything that interesting in here for you. And this is and I'm not for a minute saying, don't do that stuff. I'm not for a minute saying, stop achieving, stop dreaming, stop growing. I would say there is nothing more fulfilling and enjoyable than the expansion of our being, the growth of our own abilities and skills and strengths, the stepping into the most authentic version of ourselves, showing up in the world unapologetically and fearlessly as this is who I am, this is what I value, this is what I stand for, this is the life that I've created, that is everything I've ever looked to create. There's no greater joy than that in my experience. But there's a very big difference when you're creating from a playful, infinite, deeper mind, creativity, inspiration, though that place, that space within that deeper, more spiritual part of us that just is playing in this creative Play-Doh of life. That's a very different experience to creating a life because you're scared of going backwards, or creating a life because you want to prove people wrong. You're trying to prove to your mum, your parents, your dad, your friends, the people you grew up with, that you're enough. You're trying to prove that you're good enough. You're trying to prove to yourself that you're good enough. You're trying to create some bullshit story around why you need to do what you're doing. That's a very different energy. Or chasing that one day when I've got this many houses, this much money, and this many cars, then I can finally enjoy life. Then I can relax. Then I can retire. And I'm going to tell you now, if you haven't already done that doesn't work. Most of my clients that have got to that point, their biggest regret is they didn't enjoy the journey more. Because they retire with money in their bank and realize they don't feel any fucking different. So it's like, you chase this promised land, and I'm going to let you into a secret that's not really a secret. Happiness and joy and fulfillment and fun and love and freedom, they are all emotions that are available to you right now in this moment. You might even find after listening to these podcasts that you feel lighter, you feel freer. You feel like more is possible. You see something new, you get goosebumps, you go, fucking hell, this makes sense. Those emotions are always available to you. They never go anywhere. They're just on the other side of your thinking. And if you're thinking negative thoughts, you feel negative emotions. If you're thinking thoughts of, in some ways you're hearing my voice is becoming your thoughts, and then you're feeling my voice as you're thinking. Do you get what I'm saying? That's a bit kind of crazy. Let's try and reword that. You're hearing what are my thoughts, and you're now replaying them in your head as a narrative or your own thoughts, and then you're feeling those thoughts. If you're arguing against me right now, well, then you're going to be feeling different emotions. You only ever feel your thoughts. And I know I say this week in, week out, but this is a conversation that, even if that's all I said to you for the next 2 months, some people will get it straight away. Some people will get it in some areas, but not in others. Some people will say, yeah, this sounds true, but, or this is true in this area, but, or yeah, I get what you're saying, but the only thing is, when it comes to money, is it really is something else. Or when it comes to my relationship, she really is a knob, or whatever it is. People always have a yeah, but. So I'm going to keep coming at you from the same place with different stories and different, because once you see this, once you see that you aren't what you think you are, but what you think you are, it creates freedom, which I think on some level is what we're all searching for. Freedom to be who we are. Freedom to be who we are without judgment, without expectations. Freedom to create the life we want. Freedom to enjoy the life we want. Freedom from our own emotions and our own battle within our own mind. Freedom to enjoy life and just do cool shit along the way. At least that's what the way the world looks to me, or life looks like to me. And, I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like to me. Anyway, I think that's probably enough. I think that is probably enough. But if I was going to give you something to think about, what stories do you have in your life right now that tell you that I would be happy when? Or if only I had X, then I could feel X or Y even. Or life would be okay if I had X. I could do this if I had something. Yeah, it's okay for you, but you have this and I have that. Look for those. What are those bullshit thoughts that are creating restriction and keeping you stuck and keeping you playing small? Because if you're anything like me, you are most alive when you're in that place of possibility. And it doesn't mean it's easy, but you're in that place of possibility and potential. And you're staring out at the unknown. Like if you're in business, so many business owners I speak to, myself included, at first missed the first stages of business because it was exciting and it was scary and we felt like anything was possible, and it was this kind of drive and this hunger and this passion. Most people have lost that, but it's because their thoughts have taken that away gradually over time. But anyway, I'm going to stop because otherwise I can talk for hours. Hope you enjoyed it today. Same as always, if you have enjoyed it, share it with someone that you think it'd be useful to. Leave a review. It's always useful because most people probably come to this podcast and, we're all going, is this worth listening to or not? So it's always useful. And that's about it for now. So I'll speak to you soon.